2017. End of bill.
Remarks from the floor now, Senator Ford.
Thank you, Mr. President. Disappointed to see the last vote on Senate Bill 487. I want to remind everyone that last November, voters made a strong statement in favor of the legalization of recreational marijuana, in part because they were promised in the new recreational marijuana industry would create a financial windfall for public education. As legislators, it is now incumbent upon us to implement the voters' will and ensure the success of the recreational marijuana industry. And that includes implementing a tax and regulatory structure that allows this new industry to flourish and will keep the promise of providing a new source of funding for public schools. To his credit, and even though he opposed question 2, Governor Sandoval recognized that opportunity. As part of his budget, he sent us a proposal to implement a 10% excise tax, with those proceeds directed to the distributive school account for public schools. What we have before us today is the opportunity to create a new funding stream that will put tens of millions of dollars directly into our public schools. The governor's proposal is the centerpiece of Senate Bill 487 that we are reconsidering at this juncture. I'm incredibly proud of the hard work done on this bill throughout the session. Through the leadership of the senator from District 13, the input of the marijuana industry, and the partnership with the governor's staff, we have crafted a bill that creates a streamlined tax structure for our entire marijuana industry. What we have done is figure out how to balance the needs of our medical and recreational marijuana sectors. We have accommodated the needs of our local governments by allowing for local businesses license fees with reasonable limits. We have set aside more than $60 million in new funds, more than $60 million in new funds for public education. And we are setting an effective tax rate that will ensure that the legal market can grow while limiting the potential for black market growth. This is very good public policy. Democrats know it, Republicans know it, and most importantly, your constituents, Nevadans, they know it. There's no good reason to oppose this bill. Our budget is built around the marijuana taxes proposed in SB 487. If we do not pass this bill, we create a hole in our budget. Not only will we be failing to follow through on the promises that were made to Nevadans' public school students and their families, it will force us to look at budget reductions in other important areas. Let me just highlight some of the educational items dependent on your vote in this chamber, which informs the ultimate shape of our budget. Senate Bill 178, the product of an expansive working group, including the governor's staff, to move forward our weighted funding formula to help Nevada students. AB 77, the comprehensive teacher licensing revisions. SB 19 is subject to this vote, the governor's initiatives to expand dual credit courses. SB 212, which expands and improves our state's safe-to-tail school suicide response system, is dependent upon this vote. Not to mention Senate Bill 200, which requires computer and technology instruction. Senate Bill 303, which audits K-12 student assessments. Senate Bill 391, which creates the Nevada Promise Scholarships, as well as the appropriation for the current SSOG grant, shepherded through by the senator from District 16. SB 249, which relates to financial literacy, is also dependent upon this vote. Indeed, we share a lot of priorities that we would like to see funded over the next 2 years, many of which can't even be considered without passing this bill. Whether it's the desire many share with the senator from District 9 to fund school libraries, or my colleague from District 18's request to establish a leadership development program for public school students, these and other educational programs that could enrich the learning experience will likely suffer if we are forced to make cuts from this budget. But separate and apart from those items and those educational issues, the cuts go beyond educational programs. For example, the rural airport bill we just passed out in finance recently, that the senator from District 19 supports, the dental services for veterans that the senator from District 12 promoted, the new university engineering building embraced by the senators from Districts 15 and 16, our mental health programs in the North and in the South that we all acknowledge are critically important, and our ability to increase the caseload for the Autism Treatment Assistance Program, a cause championed by the senator from District 16, all of these are jeopardized by a no vote on this bill. But again, these are just some of the projects and programs that could be at risk if we're forced to reopen and rework the budget. I have to believe that nobody really wants that outcome, but I could be wrong. We'll all find out, we as senators, as well as the constituents we've been elected to serve, with this next vote on Senate Bill 487. Passing this bill today will ensure that we have the revenue we need to balance our budget, to increase public school education funding, and maintain other essential priorities that will help better the lives of hardworking Nevadans and their families. I urge your support, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator.